Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Couchbrotatopodcast. And on today's show, I am joined by first-time guest Chad and the return of Jason as we discuss ECW's Heatwave 98. It is the 25th anniversary of the pay-per-view, and we're going to discuss the matches, break them down, give star ratings for each one of the matches, give to you the most extreme moment of the pay-per-view, and we're going to figure out whether this is the greatest ECW pay-per-view of all time. So, after the guitar riff, the Couch Potato Podcast presents to you ECW's Heatwave 98. Hello and welcome back to the Couch Potato Podcast. My name is Russ, and joining me on today's show is Jason. Makes his triumphant return to the show. Jason, how's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, and before I introduced our second guest, I am glad that you know how to run modern technology because our second guest is making his first appearance on the show. My brother, Chad. Welcome, Chad, to the show, everybody.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Go into detail. Why couldn't you figure out Skype? It's pretty simple. I felt like we were trying to teach our mom how to do Skype.
Oh, you're funny.
I know I am. I get compliments on it all the time.
Oh, man.
Well, no, the people want to know why couldn't you figure out Skype? I didn't ask that as like a question to make a funny comment, but people want to know.
No, I'm new to Skype. I don't know. I gave up after about 5 minutes.
5 minutes, you quit?
I'm a quitter right now.
All right, fair enough. Well, we are glad to have you on the show. It's been a long time coming, so thanks for coming on. I figured both of you gentlemen would be the perfect guests for today's episode. I did not realize this until probably a few days before I reached out to the both of you that Heatwave 98 from ECW, considered by many to be one of the best ECW pay-per-views of all time, is about to turn 25 years old.
Can't
Next
believe it's
week.
been that long.
Yeah, I know. Next week. So when we drop this episode, we're recording on a Wednesday night, should be out by Thursday night. Yeah, it'll be almost 25 years old. Me and Chad actually got to attend Heatwave 98. But I was going to ask both of you guys, I don't know if we'll venture back into ECW territory. I hope that we do. There's a lot to dig into. But Jason, I'll start with you. How were you exposed to ECW?
I mean, probably the first venture into it was when they showed up on Monday Night Raw, and had no idea who these guys were, but Vince was giving them some time on TV, and then the pay-per-view commercials would pop up during Monday Night Raw. And back in 90s, I mean, you really couldn't get ECW regularly on TV unless you were scanning Sports Channel at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
That's if you were lucky. You would catch it at 1 o'clock in the morning.
And you would happen to be scrolling along, and you would see this guy cutting a promo, and you're like, okay, I got to sit and watch this. And it was never a set time. It was just you got lucky and it was on. And really the only thing you had to keep up with it in the 90s was picking up the wrestling magazines at the grocery store and reading about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really didn't have the internet until late 98. And I mean, it really wasn't a big thing until the late 90s. And then you would get YouTube and stuff. But really the only thing that you had were the commercials you've seen on Raw and the 2 or 3 episodes that they were on Monday Night Raw.
Mm-hmm. Chad, what about you? How were you exposed to ECW?
1997 Monday Night Raw. Well, going back to what Jason was talking about, if you want to go back just a tidbit further, 1996 Mind Games WWF pay-per-view, they were in attendance at that pay-per-view, and they actually got involved of the Savio Vega and the JBL strap match. And that's when Vince McMahon, the crowd started chanting ECW, and Vince McMahon actually talked about a local promotion being in Philadelphia because that's where Mind Games was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But going forward, talking about 97 when Jerry Lawler kept talking about, hey, ECW, bring crappy wrestling, all this, inviting them on to Monday Night Raw, and they came, and what else happened was, like, James Potts, always seemed to have, like, recorded them, and we used to go to his house and watch them a lot. That's how we always found out about ECW also.
Yeah, it seemed like he had, like, the Midas touch on finding them on TV. He would find them all the time. And then I remember he got that gigantic satellite before, like, DirecTV had the small, like, one that they hooked on the side of your house. You had those mammoth ones that could pick up channels in Russia and, Asia, wherever. And he would always have access to every single sports channel in the United States. And it would be on different times. Like, you could catch it at, like, 12 o'clock a.m. on, like, the Sunshine Network in Tampa, or you could, like, wait till 2 o'clock in the morning and catch it on, like, Empire Sports in New York. And that's how I ended up watching it too. I remember before that, though, I had did a little party, and I hung out at a friend's house, and I couldn't sleep because he always had this really uncomfortable hide to bed. And I remember flipping on his TV. I'm just surfing through the channels, and I remember it was the infamous where the Sandman got crucified by Raven.
Yeah.
I was watching that thinking, like, what the hell is this? Like, why is Johnny Polo, like, nailing this guy to a cross? And then I fell in love with it after that. And then, of course, I lost track because, like Jason was saying, it was hard as hell to find it around here. But that was a good thing about having a friend that had a satellite was, he would always invite us over. I do blame him for getting me started on smoking cigarettes because I used to chain smoke like a champ over there when we watched it. But yeah, I fell in love with it, and then eventually, yeah, like Chad was saying, the Jerry the King Lawler, where he got Van Dam involved, and then they did the crossover at I think it was Living Dangerously, wasn't it? Jerry Lawler.
Yeah, I think
That was barely legal.
Well, yeah, barely legal, but yeah, it really blended in when Lawler was at Living Dangerously, I think. Because that was the pay-per-view I remember had Jenna Jameson with the Dudleys on it. That was at her apex as well, but we'll save that for another episode that we'll bring Chad in on. But I figured we would just dig into this a little bit. I was going to try to format this like our movie episodes. I do apologize to you guys and gals that listen. This could potentially be a train wreck, but the awesome thing about train wrecks is you have to sit and watch them anyway. So you can watch us implode or pull a good one out of our ass. The Tale of the Tape, ECW's Heatwave 98 took place on August the 2nd, 1998 at the Hara Arena in Dayton, Ohio, which is no longer around. Kind of sad. Had a lot
because of a tornado.
Yeah, well, that place was a dump anyways. That thing was really falling apart towards the end.
Smelled like piss.
Oh, yeah, it's like, I think like just 20 years of nonstop dudes just pissing on the floor. Just, it couldn't handle it
Didn't
anymore.
give a crap.
Yeah, I remember we went seeing, I think one of the last things I seen there was Green Day. And yeah, like shit was, no, I went to a golf expo with a friend of ours, and like, yeah, the ceiling was starting to come undone.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, am I going to die at a golf expo?
First time I went there was 96. I went to see a WCW event.
Oh yeah, I remember that now. The one I didn't get invited to.
Well, blame that on Frida Paul.
Well, I'm not going to blame it on anybody.
Okay.
The attendance for this was 4,376. I think the Hare Arena held 5,000 people. So that's pretty good number of people filling the show. The gate was $110,000. Looks like they brought home about $57,000 in merchandise revenue. Pay-per-view buy rate was approximately 73,000 homes. And you can stream this on the Peacock, or as we like to call it here on the show, the Cock. Chad, do you watch stuff on the Cock? Do you watch a lot of Cock?
All the time.
All right. Well, we know you love the Cock. I figured we would just go into the card a little bit, then we can kind of talk about the matches. We got there a little late. So we didn't get to see this one. The dark match was Balls Mahoney and Axel Rotten versus the Full-Blooded Italians. Then the actual event was Justin Credible versus Jerry Lynn, Chris Candido versus Lance Storm, Masato Tanaka versus Mike Awesome, Rob Van Dam and Sabu versus Hayabusa and Shinzaki for the ECW Tag Team Championship. Taz versus Bam Bam Bigelow, and the final match was the Dudley Boys versus Tommy Dreamer, the Sandman, and Spike Dudley in a Dudleyville street fight. Pretty good card.
Yeah, top to bottom.
Chad, I'll start off with you. What's your thought on the card, man?
It was a really good card, for first time seeing ECW live. Hey, you can't go wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't forget too. We arrived 10 minutes too late to actually see. I forget his name now. New Jack get jumped by the Dudley Boys.
Yeah, we did miss that because they showed that on the pay per view. It was in between the it's in between the Candido Storm match and the Masato Tanaka Mike Awesome match. Yeah, we missed that one because that was supposed to be on this card, but they canceled it. Don't know why.
Because New Jack had to go to the hospital.
I think it was the fact Jack Victory was just fucking out of shape.
Yep,
it probably was.
Because Jack Victory, let's be real, looked like he had been out of shape for years. And the only reason he had a job was the fact he could probably get the shit beat out of him and can come back to work the next day. Starting off for me, at the time I didn't realize that Justin Credible was the former Aldo Montoya from WWE. I thought Justin Credible and Jerry Lynn was a hell of a way to start the card off. I mean, that was a really good match. I did notice, when I watched it the other day, that part of Justin Credible's entourage was Nicole Bass and Joey Styles, who I don't think gets enough credit for being a phenomenal play-by-play man. I think he's probably one of the best to ever do it, really, and he did a lot of those solo.
Oh, yeah. He's outstanding. To do most of that stuff by himself. I mean, he did have people later in his ECW career, but a lot of people don't realize he did a lot of that stuff just him. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he's one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, he made that comment about Nicole Bass about being larger or bigger than China.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, Jerry Lynn's always been you always knew you were getting a good match with Jerry Lynn. And actually, it's funny that at the time, you didn't know that Jerry Lynn was going to eventually be one of the top guys in ECW down the road.
Yeah.
Still, the greatest, I think one of the greatest feuds in ECW history was Lynn versus RVD.
Oh, without a doubt. That's my favorite.
Mm-hmm. I would maybe lean towards the Sandman and Raven or the Dudleys and the Gangsters, but
yeah,
I don't know. Chad, what did you think about that first match? What are your thoughts?
Just a phenomenal cruiserweight going at it. Can't go wrong with that. Mm-hmm. I was watching it the other day at work, and it's just to me, it was probably one of the best matches on the card.
I would agree with that. Anything else, Chad?
No.
Okay. Well, we didn't bring him on here to just bog it down with words. Chad cuts straight to the point and gives you his expert analysis in as few words as possible. Thanks, Chad.
Oh, you're welcome.
But I was a little shocked at his second match. We'll get into it before we do. Out of the 4 stars, what would you give Jerry Lynn and Justin Credible? What would you give that match? I'll do this too.
3 1/4.
3 3/4.
Yeah.
Okay, so you Chad, you said 3 1/4.
Yeah.
All right, so we're on the Ed McMahon scale. That's how you're grading these matches. 3 1/4 stars.
You move on, yeah.
And then Jason, what'd you give it?
I gave it 3 3/4 because I mean, to start off a pay-per-view with that, and I mean, granted, we didn't know at the time that they were going to become what they become, because I mean, Justin Credible was still, I think he was only a year into ECW at that time, and
yeah,
Jerry Lynn, yeah.
Well, the following year, him and Lance Storm were main eventing Heatwave '99, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that was him and 2 of them against Van Dam and Jerry Lynn.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, that was something else I was going to bring up. I mean, these guys were the opening match this year's pay-per-view. And then the following year, they ended up main eventing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that year that the 2 of those guys had, I mean, the matches against Van Dam, and then Justin Credible was getting ready to move on to the main event. And I mean, he ended up being a world champion. Jerry Lynn ended up being a world champion. I don't think, if you would have saw those 2 guys on the card in '98, do you think, oh, hey, these guys are going to be the future? And then they go out there and they just kill it. And very next year, they're main eventing, and then they're moving on to the main events. And I mean, those matches, Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam, you always looked for. I mean, that was 30 to 45 minute classics every single time. And, Justin Credible, his, feuds with Dreamer, and I mean, and then he had the Impact players with Lance Storm. I mean, those were just the guys that you love to hate. And I mean, he played that character perfectly. And I just thought, you really can't start a pay-per-view better than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I really think that following this, I would say if you went from 98 to 99, I think that Lance Storm and Justin Credible were probably the MVPs of ECW. I mean, they weren't like the guys that they weren't RVD, they weren't Tommy Dreamer, but I think if you can put them in a match with anybody, you were always going to get something solid out of both of them.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that Paul Heyman always gets credit for, and I don't know why the WWE doesn't try to utilize this more with him. But Paul Heyman was always able to get the absolute best out of, let's be real, Jerry Lynn, Justin Credible. Those guys were never going to be WWE stars. Justin Credible had his chance as Aldo Montoya, but instead they put him in that jockstrap mask, and he flamed out. But
well, I mean, Jerry Lynn, the thing with Paul Heyman is he highlights what you're good at.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I mean, Jerry Lynn was never great on the mic. So what do? Don't let him talk, but let him wrestle for 45 minutes. Let him show what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, every time he went out there, he performed. And I mean, you can't say he didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, Jerry Lynn now, I think, is a road agent for AEW. Yeah, as a matter of fact, he got put through a table earlier in the year.
Actually, he was on this Dynamite tonight. He's wrestling next week.
I'll say, see, I'm not watching Dynamite right now. Really?
Yeah, he's wrestling Jungle Boy.
Okay, I'm going to have to tune in for that one, just for nostalgia purposes.
Yep.
Chad, do you have anything you want to add to the Just Incredible Jerry Lynn match before we move on?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, all right. Fair enough, Chad.
I'm actually watching it right now.
Okay. Well, you just chime in whenever you feel like it, okay? Jump into the conversation when you're feeling froggy. I'd say, 3.5 stars. We'll meet in the middle. Give this one a 3.5 star rating out of 4. Definitely worth it. Great way to kick off the show.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's a little quick fact, though. I was reading about Jerry Lynn, and remember he was in WCW's Mr. JL. He was wrestling in Japan, then come over to WCW. And the reason why he ended up at ECW was because he had an injury, and Bischoff did what he does great, is fire you. Always fires the wrestler when he's hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That's bullshit right there.
Well, I mean,
that's the reason why he ended up in ECW.
Well, it's like the old adage is one man's trash is another man's treasure. Of course, Paul Heyman was able to cultivate some of those guys and turn them into stars, and they went and got paid elsewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, the second match on the card was Chris Candido versus Lance Storm. I think this was the continuation of the feud that Lance Storm had with the Triple Threat, because he was originally a probationary member of the Triple Threat, and then they ended up kicking him out when Bam Bam rejoined.
Yeah.
And then him and Candido were feuding for a while. Got a nice little surprise. Sunny came out with Candido. Sunny, who looked like she hadn't slept in a few days on this pay-per-view.
She looked high.
She probably was. For those of you that have watched Dark Side of the Ring, her and Chris Candido's story was, I believe, the first episode of this latest season.
Yeah.
She's definitely had her demons over the years. Did not look to be in the best shape. This was another pretty good match, though.
It was solid.
Yeah.
I don't think it was one of their best, but it was still solid for the number 2 on the card.
Mm-hmm. I think it's something that Chris Candido, I don't think, ever really got credit for. He was actually a pretty solid hand.
Yeah. I
mean, he would not always put on like a 5-star classic, but you never really got a bad match out of him. And as you and I, Chad, kind of just not even here, he's just chiming in from time to time. Lance Storm, definitely.
No, I was here. I read something to you about that.
Okay.
Why they were feuding and stuff.
Okay, go right ahead.
It took place at the Hostile City Showdown with the Triple Threat. Douglas, Candido, and Storm competed in the handicap match against Bigelow and Taz. At the end of the match...
Yep, I remember this now.
Yeah. Bigelow turned on Taz while Candido turned on Lance Storm. Yep. And then their partner, Douglas, reformed a Triple Threat with Candido and Bigelow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they had just had actually a really good world title match at November to Remember. That was the one where I think Douglas regained the ECW title from Bam Bam in Pittsburgh. Well, it wasn't in Pittsburgh. It was like a town close to Pittsburgh, but that's splitting hairs.
Scranton. Probably Scranton.
But yeah, this was a solid match. I mean, I would say it's probably the least memorable of the main matches on here. I would, if we're going to give this a star rating, I would give this probably a 2.5. Solid, but nothing spectacular.
Yeah, they had better matches. Still a good one, but yeah, man, it's just looking at that and thinking like, man, what Chris Candido he deserved better. I'll say that. And I mean, it's a shame he's not here any longer. Man, it's just he was better than people realized, and I kind of wish he got the recognition that he deserved. And I mean, looking at the triple threat, I think that faction doesn't get mentioned enough. I mean, it was perfect amount of people in a group, and you had you had your world champion in Shane, you had your muscle and Bam Bam, and you had your up and comer and Candido, and two of the three are no longer here, and that it sucks. I think all three of them really deserve better than what they got out of wrestling.
I for one, and Chad will know this, I was a huge Shane Douglas fan. As a matter of fact, that show I bought the triple threat, the yellow shirts that you see peppered throughout the audience, and I own that.
Yeah.
And then Chad eventually checked it in, and I'd never seen it again.
Hey,
Do you still have that shirt?
no. It got holy.
Oh, became your church shirt, huh?
Yeah, basically.
All right. But yeah, I mean, nothing spectacular with this match. I'd give it 2.5. Jason, you said about 2.5.
Yeah, I'd go that way.
Chad, what do you give?
Same, about 2.5.
2.5. Yeah, that's about solid, about the standard. I mean, it's like I said, there's nothing to really write home about with this. But this next match, holy shit.
Yeah.
I was not really familiar with the promotion at the time, and now thanks to the internet, you're able to read up on this. And there's actually a Dark Side of the Ring, I think it was from last season, about the founder of FMW, Onita, but they had a working relationship with ECW, and if I'm not mistaken, this next matchup, Masato Tanaka versus Mike Awesome, these two guys were on loan from FMW, and they put on this match. If anything sums up ECW, it's this match right here. Spots galore, just two guys beating the fuck out of one another.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, if you've never seen one of their matches, go to YouTube and put that in, and I mean, you're going to be entertained for 15 to 20 minutes. Even if you watch their WWE One Night Stand, like, that was probably 10 minutes of nothing but I'm going to knock the piss out of this guy back and forth. And every single match that they had, like, was just that. It was how hard can you be hit and can you still get up?
Mm-hmm. And I know at the time, like, I know The Undertaker, and deservedly so, gets a lot of praise for being a very agile big man. But watching Mike Awesome do his thing, dude's almost 300 pounds. He's built probably, I would say, physique-wise, he's probably kind of Kane's build.
Yeah.
Flying through the air, he did, he flew over the top rope. Just incredible matchup. Chad, what do you got to say about this one?
He was a county fair wrestler, wasn't he?
That's what
Mike
we refer.
Awesome?
That's in the crowd. That's what we referred to him as. Was the county fair wrestler,
true.
because he had a beautiful mullet.
Oh, it's flowing beautifully
I
right
mean,
now.
if I could grow, like, I don't have a lot to work with up top anymore. My hair, it looks like an old abandoned baseball field. There's like patches of grass growing in the infield. But if I could, I would totally rock that mullet.
Yeah, that mullet was sweet.
It was a beaut. That alone gives it 5 stars. But yeah,
looks like you said that for a big guy, he has some agility on him.
oh, for
Flying
sure.
through the air like there's no tomorrow.
And we were discussing briefly, like, some of the best feuds in ECW history. This one has to be in the conversation too.
Oh, without a doubt.
These guys always stole the show.
Yeah, you knew you were getting something special when you see these two names on the card. It didn't matter where they were at on the card. You just knew somebody was getting the fuck beat out of them. Mm-hmm. And you're probably going to see something where you're going to wonder, is that guy dead or is that guy paralyzed?
Mm-hmm. And I know the match really hasn't aged well just from like the amount of just brutal chair shots they take.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of those chair shots are absolutely sickening hearing that thud, but still an incredible, incredible match. We will award the match of the night later on in the episode, but I think this is probably the leader in the clubhouse right now so far.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
But if I'm going to rate this one, I am going to give it a good 4.5 out of 5.
Oh, it's definitely getting 4.5.
I would give it 5 because I think 5 is that's like Shawn Michaels Undertaker WrestleMania is a 5. Austin and Brett from WrestleMania 13 is a 5, but this is a 4.5.
Okay. Yeah, I could live with that.
Chad?
Like you said, man, like Tanaka, man, picking him up and just power bombing him over the top rope. Like Jason said, 330-pound guy. That's unheard of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
here comes another chick.
5'11", 202 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like a child compared to Mike Awesome.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you this much. Masato Tanaka, if you were to see that fucker in the streets, you'd probably walk the other way like, yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, he was 5'10", but that dude was built like a fucking trash barrel.
Yeah.
Like, he was all like, Anchorman, where he says he's a man made out of metal and brawn. That describes fucking Masato Tanaka.
Yeah, you can't hurt him.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely the match of the night so far going into it. But now we're getting into the point of the show. Pretty much the 3 matches that everybody paid their money to see. We got Hayabusa, who was pretty much, according to the Dark Side of the Ring special about Onita, was the wrestler picked to take over the mantle as like the guy in FMW. An incredible wrestler. He kind of reminds me a lot of he had a lot of luchador. Yeah. He reminded me kind of like Ultimo Dragon. I get a lot of vibes from Ultimo Dragon with his look, but an incredible wrestler from what I've seen. And then Shinzaki, if I think I pronounced it right. It wouldn't be an episode if I didn't fuck somebody's name up. A lot of you old school wrestling fans will remember him as Hakushi in the WWE. He was the wrestler that had the Japanese writing all over his body. Also a very good wrestler. Don't know why he failed in WWE. Still blows my mind how they fucked that up, but they tend to do that more often than not. They are challenging for the ECW World Tag Team Championships held by Sabu and Rob Van Dam. Gentlemen, thoughts on this matchup?
Looking at those belts, did Paul Heyman buy those belts and redo them? Because the tag team belt looks like the old Intercontinental strap, and the World Television title looks like the old Winged Eagle belt.
Well, I think that's what it is. I mean, they never really went and had their own special belts made. They just kind of copied everybody else's, which is, I was running a promotion like that. That's what I would do. I'd bring back the titles that I fucking like. Like if I had my mid-card title, it would look like the old Intercontinental Championship.
This was the longest match on the card. This lasted 21 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, it felt like there was something off. Like there were some really good spots, but then there were also some really sloppy. Like they didn't mesh well together.
Yeah, I think that's. Go ahead. I'll let you finish your thought.
No, it's just usually when you get a Rob Van Dam match, you know you're going to get a classic, and this just wasn't it. And I just really think it was the two teams didn't know each other. There was a feeling out process that never really went through, and it was just kind of it felt. I mean, yeah, it was the longest card on the match, but it felt really rushed, and it just never. I don't think it ever really hit the spots that it was supposed to. It just didn't feel like a good match at all.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I think it was really good up until like the last, I don't know, 6-7 minutes of the match. It starts to get real sloppy, and I think that's what brings it down.
Yeah.
It does big time.
I think they're trying to. Go ahead, Chad.
No, it does, because I was watching last you said 10 to 15 about the last 5 minutes of it. They did a table spot where they put both of the Japanese wrestlers on the table, and both Sabu and Van Dam did their moves, and it was just off. The table never broke or nothing. It was just an off.
Well, it wouldn't be an ECW pay-per-view without one of the tables not breaking the way it was supposed to.
If I gave it out of 5 stars, I'd probably only give it a 3. I didn't think it was that great of a match. It was entertaining, but it wasn't that. It's like you said, it missed the spots a lot, especially that last 7 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say this is, considering the talent involved, it was a little disappointing. I mean, I think if they would have had a rematch at November to Remember, which I believe was the next pay-per-view after this one, I think they could have put on a classic because then they would have had a chance to, at least they had the Heatwave match under their belt to kind of feel each other out. Because I don't believe that in ECW that they really, because I know in WWE they're kind of notorious for, like for big events, they'll come to the arena hours before the show. They'll kind of like map out the match. And I think this would have been one of those ones they just kind of called on the fly.
Yeah. The person's very entertaining in the whole match is Bill Alfonso.
That's right, Daddy. I tell you what though, man, watching his teeth in fucking high definition, what the fuck? Like
does it remind you of Uncle Dickie?
Yeah, he reminded us of an old friend's uncle. Also looked like he had sticks at Land O'Lakes for teeth. And Bill Alfonso is no different though. I liked Fonzie though. I mean, he got on your nerves with that fucking whistle, but I think he was awesome. Gentlemen, what would you give this as a star rating?
2.5 to 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I would give it a 2 3/4.
Okay.
Simply because I see what they were trying to do, because I think if it wouldn't have been so sloppy, I think it could have easily been the match of the night. And I did think that was the match of the night for the longest time. I loved this match when I was younger, but now going back and watching it now, I'm just kind of like, that was okay, but nothing exciting. Rob Van Dam has tons of classics in ECW. I highly recommend, if you have access to the cock, check it out, see what they've got in their sack. They got tons of RVD stuff, but this is not one of the ones I would check out first.
Yeah.
Chad, what did you give this match?
I gave it 3.
A 3?
Yeah.
Is that because of how it started, like the potential and how it started out good and it just kind of...
Basically, it's like you guys said with Van Dam. You knew what you were getting when you were going to watch any of his matches. But it's like you said, it felt rushed. And to me, I don't think Van Dam was. To me, I don't think Van Dam was a good tag team wrestler. He was always a better singles wrestler.
Now, I'll disagree with you on that one. Van Dam's got some really good tag team matches with Sabu when they were the champs.
No, but I just like Van Dam as a singles.
Oh yeah, for sure. You could tell like by his when he came out of the curtain, like he is by far the biggest star in ECW at this point. He got the biggest pop of the night.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I was fucking jazzed to see him too. Cause like, oh shit, it's RVD. My 17-year-old self. The next match is the co-main event. This match is, I think, the A story that ECW had going on at the time. This was Taz, who was trying to chase Shane Douglas. He wanted to be the ECW World Champion, but either by injury or just cowardice, he kept evading Taz. And then basically, this is the culmination of his feud with Bam Bam Bigelow, which a few months prior in Living Dangerously, they had a popular spot which was featured in the show opening up, I think up until the time ECW quit running. Taz going through the ring, basically Bam Bam Bigelow jumps on top of him and they go through the ring. Huge spot there. Shane Douglas, who I failed to mention, is in the building. He's doing commentary with Joey Styles during this. But this is the culmination of this feud. Guys, what do you think about Taz versus Bam Bam?
Great feud. Like you said, it was it was the start to get to Shane Douglas. Like you said, Shane Douglas was avoiding him at all costs, didn't want nothing to do with him. So he put all his goonies, Bigelow and Candido
and Chunk
to get in his way. So it was a great feud. I loved it because they two put on great matches.
Yeah, something tells me though that this match was not the original plan. I think that they were originally going to have Douglas versus Taz at this, but
Douglas was out with that armor.
Yeah, you seen at the beginning of the show when he comes out, he's got this huge brace on his elbow, and actually we did a meet and greet. We got to meet the Triple Threat, and he had his arm in a brace in. So I don't think this was any kind of work. I think this was a legitimate injury. So I think that was, they pivoted to Bam Bam versus Taz after they knew Douglas couldn't go.
Didn't you say Bam Bam Bigelow was an asshole too?
Yeah, we actually we got a chant started in line that we kept saying Taz is going to kill you while we're waiting to get his autograph, and he got so pissed off at us that I believe that the autographs that I got were of Shane Douglas, Francine, and Chris Candido. And Bam Bam Bigelow is featured in this picture too, but we did not get his autograph. And as we were leaving, we found him in a Brooks Brothers shoe store shopping for shoes.
I love Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah. But guys, thoughts on the match? Like, Jason, I'll lead off with you.
Good match. Yeah, I mean, it was a good match. And like you said, I really think that this was supposed to be Taz against Shane. And I mean, I think this feud that Taz had really elevated him. And I think that if this would have been Taz against Shane Douglas and he wins the world title, Taz would have been a bigger character, because when he finally got to wrestle Shane for the title, Taz had kind of like cooled off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like, I always liked Shane Douglas, but sometimes I just felt like, I don't want to say politics, but I really don't think that he ever wanted to to lose to Taz. I don't know. I mean, Taz played this tough character, but we all know that's not really the case because apparently Rob Van Dam slapped the shit out of me one time. But I mean, as far as just going back to the match, I mean, it was a good match. I enjoyed Taz, but Bam Bam was secretly always one of my favorites just because you didn't really see big men at that time with the agility that he had. I mean, moonsaults off the top rope. He's doing cartwheels as a 400-pound man. I mean, I really think he could have been a monster, and not just in. I mean, he was in ECW, but Vince put him with Lawrence Taylor, and I mean, obviously Vince had some kind of faith in him to put him with a high-profile athlete, and he had that WCW run that was just absolute garbage.
That happened with a lot of the ECW guys. None of those guys really, I mean, like out of the guys that made their name in ECW, like I don't count Jericho and Eddie Guerrero and Malenko, but those guys, because they weren't household names.
Yeah,
coming in the WCW.
I mean, if you look at it, Lance Storm's pretty much the only one that you could say had a decent WCW career. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, just going back to Bam Bam Bigelow, he's just, again, like Candido, he deserved better than what he got. Mm-hmm. And it just sucks. I mean, he's not here, and I think he could have been bigger than what he was again. And the Taz feud was excellent on both sides of it. I mean, I think they built, nobody lost anything in the feud. I think they both gained. And I mean, it was a good match.
Yeah, they tried to replicate the spot that they did at Living Dangerously. The cool thing about ECW pay-per-views is they had that ramp that the old NWA pay-per-views had, where basically the ramp led right up to the ring. There was no like drop off, which I always dug that. I don't understand why more companies didn't do that or why they don't do it now. But they did that spot where this time they go through the ramp, and then I mean, it was a pretty incredible ending, and I love the ending where Bam Bam comes up, and you think like, oh fuck, here we go again. Taz is going to lose, and then Taz kind of comes up, almost rises from the dead. It's almost like it's a second wind, and he chokes out Bam Bam. For me, this match doesn't quite reach the level of the Living Dangerously match. That was one of my favorite matches of the year. Was that Living Dangerously match? That was a really good match, and this one doesn't quite live up to that, but I still thought it was a pretty good match.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. I think that Taz not getting the belt then, because I think they kind of made the mistake, because if I remember right, the next pay-per-view was November to Remember, and then they tried to do that triple threat versus, they were forming like some kind of new faction. It was Sabu, Taz, and RVD. Yeah. And I think once you included RVD into that, you're taking some of Taz's steam away. I think they should have done Taz versus Shane at November to Remember. That was their flagship pay-per-view. Why not have that championship match at that event? Unless Douglas still wasn't at 100% and he needed to be in a tag match to...
if that were the case, how I think I probably would have booked that at the time, have Taz do a gauntlet match against the triple threat. You have to go through all three of them, and by the time you get to Shane, he doesn't have to do much, and Taz can just, slap the Taz vision on him and be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the sooner they would have gotten the belt on Taz, the better. I mean, Taz he was red hot at the time.
Oh, for sure. For sure. He was probably like, I don't think he was quite on Van Dam's level, but he was pretty close.
Yeah.
And that was the top program at the time. So, yeah. I mean, I would like to have seen it too. It still doesn't take away from this. It was a pretty good match. What do you give this match, gentlemen?
Out of what, 5 stars?
Yep. The Couch Potato 5-star, the 5-star rating system.
It's probably 3.5.
I'd give it about a 3.25.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go.
Yeah. We got to come up with some kind of a name for the 5-star. I don't want to steal Dave Meltzer's thunder. Well, you know what? Fuck Dave Meltzer. I don't like him. He makes up shit. I'm a Sean Ross Sapp guy.
There you go.
But yeah, we'll give it five spuds or something. Since this is the Couch Potato Podcast. Last match of the evening is the main event, the Dudleyville Street Fight between the Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, and Spike versus the Dudleys, which were Devon, Bubba Ray, and Big Dick Dudley. Chaz, is this your first time seeing Big Dick?
No, it's not the first time I've seen Big Dick.
If anything, watching this, this whole match from the beginning, from the entrances of the Sandman and up until the end, not going to spoil anything. This was Dreamer, Sandman, and Spike beat the Dudleys. At the end of the match, we get the Jack Victory run-in where he's helping the Dudleys just beat the shit out of the 3 faces, and then we get New Jack popping at the end. I think if this really shows how shitty it is to watch ECW on Peacock when you don't get Metallica's Enter Sandman for the Sandman's entrance and you don't get Natural Born Killers for New Jack. I fucking hate it. I absolutely hate it, and I almost watched the shit on mute when New Jack came out. I was like, this isn't it. I'm just going to throw my fucking headphones in and listen to the damn song myself.
Yep.
Might as well.
But you guys, thoughts on this one?
Oh, it was great. I love this match, especially just the intro with everybody's favorite Dudley Boys ring announcer, Joel Gertner. Who,
if I'm not mistaken, more than a couple people in our circle of friends say that you used to bear a fair resemblance to one Joel Gertner.
I also resemble Michael Andretti, too, according to one friend of ours.
Well, Michael Andretti wasn't in fucking ECW, Chad. Joel Gertner was.
I know. That Joel Gertner was a handsome fellow, though, wasn't he?
Why did you not rock the bow tie neck brace look?
Well, because I don't know if they ever had it. What?
Only to pop it off with a dinner jacket with no shirt on.
Yeah, let the chesticles pop out.
You'd have been swimming in it, Chad.
Hey, man, that'd be a good dinner date at Los Mariachis.
Yeah, you should have just went with this gimmick and just rolled with it. I think you'd have more than one child.
Hey.
I would at least say you'd have a baker's dozen.
Had to get him a minibus.
Jason, what did you think about this? The Dudleyville Street Fight. Get away from Chad's sexual prowess.
Well, honestly, I had this pay-per-view on Monday while I was working, and I happened to look over, and the Sandman's doing a Hurricane Rana off the top rope. And this made me really feel like this was a family reunion fight going wrong.
The Sandman has the worst Hurricane Rana I've ever seen.
Oh,
it's fucking horrible. And I cringe every time I see him do it because I was like, all right, this is the moment where Sandman fucking kills somebody.
Yep. And that's exactly, I mean, it felt like old Uncle Jim, Sandman, had too much to drink, and he shows up to the family reunion with little cousin Spike and his brother Tommy, and they're picking a fight with the biggest relatives there are, and then just all hell breaks loose. And I mean, there's not really much to not like about it. I mean, it's just fun, and it's violent, and it looks like one of my early 90s trailer park family reunions.
Yeah, ECW is always known for incredible like in-ring action, like the wrestling, and then it's also known for being just absolutely violent. And I think this is a showcase of the latter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of see it now with the blood and guts or the anarchy in the arena. And I mean, with Tony Khan being a huge ECW fan, when you have several different cameras shooting different things, like this guy's over here fighting, and these guys are over here fighting, and I mean, that's just it's fun. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's when you feel like it, is it real? I mean, you kind of get that sense of the reality that, these guys are really, really fighting. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was just a fun match.
Yeah, I thought it was a good way to cap off the night. I mean, it wasn't a 5-star classic by any stretch. Dudley's awesome as always. I'll die on the hill that I think the Dudleys are the greatest tag team of all time in professional wrestling. Just between mic work and incredible opening promo from Bubba Ray Dudley, where he just insults the crowd, where he gets them fired up so much that a fan is willing to come out and fight them. And this is a prelude to what we would get next year, which I found out that he was actually testing this in house shows, which is probably one of the most vulgar promos I have ever heard on a major wrestling promotion. This is probably like never show this to your young kids. Like, this is like, he is fucking going full out. Prelude to that, like Chad touched on, we get Joel Gertner had his shtick, played it to a T. Then we get the Sandman, never going to be confused with Dean Malenko, but I always dug what he did. Tommy Dreamer, the heart and soul ECW, and then Spike. I think Spike was always the guy that they needed to throw around and take bumps. But yeah, it was a solid main event at the end. And then, everybody gets to go home happy. Which happened every fucking ECW event. New Jack comes out with his grocery cart, which I'm going to bet is probably stolen from Kroger. Because Kroger shopping carts seem to be like stolen all the time. His cart full of goodies, stop signs, trash cans, kendo sticks. He sometimes would pop out something weird. I think I seen one time he had a microwave.
Yeah.
But the crowd gets to go home happy. Did
he have a Nintendo in there 1 year too?
Yeah, like I watched. Yeah, he had a Nintendo system, and it makes me sad because, like, fuck, that thing's worth some money now, and he just shattered it all over some dude's fucking head. Probably Jack Victory, for all we know.
Jack Victory.
I give this one 3.25 stars. I don't think it's the best match tonight, but it was a cool way to go home. And Sandman always gets a huge pop. The Dudleys always get mega fucking heat. This one also, the Dudley boys even got more heat because they put Beulah McGillicuddy out of commission. The
Joey Styles hated the Dudley Boys so much.
Which is
Wouldn't
funny
talk
because
at all.
later on Joel Gertner becomes his color commentator for the ECW on TNN, which is what I consider to be the downfall. Like that's when ECW started to go downhill, was when they went to network TV. But we'll save that for another episode.
I'll tell you, Tommy Dreamer had one of the best pile drivers.
Oh, dude, they sold RVD sold his pile driver like crazy. Like the only move that I'm probably missing some, but the only move that I see sold better than RVD selling a Tommy Dreamer pile driver is The Rock selling Steve Austin's stunner.
Yeah.
But before we got a couple of awards to give out. Like I said, this is a test run. Hopefully we can fine tune this. Because I like to do this again, just revisit some old pay-per-views. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
We'll get this fine-tuned. Got a couple fun facts. The Wrestling Observer newsletter awarded ECW's Heatwave 98 the best major wrestling show of 1998.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. Which is this is the height of the Monday Night Wars too, and we got the King of the Ring this year. If I'm not mistaken, the Hell in the Cell King of the Ring was this year. So I'm trying to think of some other events. I think WrestleMania. Is this WrestleMania 15?
14.
14.
Austin wins the title. Yeah.
Yeah. We're in the midst of Stone Cold's first round with the title. So.
Yeah, that's where Tyson was at.
And wasn't this the? This was the Halloween Havoc too, where we got Goldberg and DDP, right? That they cut off.
Yep, and they cut the pay-per-view. They cut the pay-per-view early.
Yeah. Okay. So there's some good.
And they showed it on Broad Network TV the next night, saying it wasn't for ratings.
I think we had quit buying WCW pay-per-views on a regular basis by then. I think we were strictly a WWE house after halfway through 98.
Well, actually, we got the last two in 98. We got World War III, and we bought the Starcade.
Well, I'm a sucker for a battle royal.
Well, who isn't?
But the WWE came out with a top 15 pay-per-views of all time back in 2013, and they rated Heatwave 98 number 14 on that list of their 15 greatest pay-per-views of all time.
Wow.
Yeah. Tammy Lynn Sitch, or Sunny as the casual wrestling fan would know, was released by WWE 4 days prior to showing up at Heatwave 98. She was apparently let go due to rumors of backstage issues with Rena Mero, who many people know as Sable, who basically came in and stole her thunder. That came out that happened real fast.
Yeah, that I think Sunny was every kid's dream growing up. I mean, Sable never really did anything. I mean, but Sunny was just kind of like the girl next door.
Mm-hmm.
and until the extracurricular activities.
I did not know it, but Sunny did some adult movies.
Yeah.
I'm sure you horny lads listening to the show can find those on Pornhub or any adult site on the old internet. I've seen what Sunny has looked like in the last 10 years, and that's a road I don't want to go down. Apparently there's a video where she shits on somebody too.
Yeah,
I haven't heard
that one.
So, I don't know. I used to be a big Sunny fan as a kid, but now when I just uttered those two words, it's a little cringeworthy. She also apparently had an addiction to painkillers too, so that kind of helped get her out the door. But Yeah, man, what a downfall. The most downloaded woman on the internet to making fucking shit porno films on the internet.
And in prison, I believe.
Oh, has she gone to jail yet?
Yeah,
She's been in there 3 or 4 times.
I think she's currently in for that.
Did she
car accident?
Yeah, didn't she kill an elderly man or like severely injure him or?
I think whoever she hit ended up dying. I know she's got. I don't know how long in prison, but I think she's been there for a couple of years now, or at least a year.
I'm gonna look that up real quick while I'm going to read this last fun fact of the day. This was one of the last appearances in ECW from the Sandman. The following month, he signed a 3-year deal with WCW and went on to become. Didn't he become first? He was like Raven's rich friend.
Something like there was something with, I can't remember exactly what it was with Raven, but it didn't go over real well.
Well, I know Chastity, who is in this pay-per-view as well. She was with Just Incredible's entourage. Was his sister?
Yeah. I can't remember exactly how they had introduced him, but I do remember when he showed up with the rubber barbed wire wrapped all around himself and calling himself Hardcore Hack.
Yeah, he eventually becomes Hardcore Hack.
Yeah, that's sad right there.
Yeah. Well, his run in WCW did not last. He rejoins ECW. I don't remember whether he got canned or he asked for his release, but he ends up rejoining ECW in October of '99. So he was there for about a year.
Yeah, there was no way he could have done anything in WCW. I mean, they basically took all his gimmicks away from him, but they gave him rubber barbed wire and a cane, and wanted him just to do hardcore matches. And
that was when WCW was trying to basically come up with their own hardcore division like WWE had, but instead of just putting current talent in that division, they were just trying to sign ECW guys to fill up that division.
Yeah. A waste, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it really showed, him going to WCW really showed his limited skill set and how he really, you take away the character, there's nothing to
they told him he couldn't smoke to the ring, but they let the Giant do it one time, and then they told him he couldn't drink beer on the way to the ring, and then Kevin Nash does it, and it's okay, so everybody else can do it, but the one guy whose gimmick it is can't. And I mean, you pretty much just killed the Sandman.
Yeah. That's one. There were certain wrestlers that had no business leaving the promotion, and he's definitely one of them. He should have just been there till the end, like New Jack was, and Mikey Whipwreck. Those guys,
didn't he sign with WCW though?
Oh yeah, he did. I think he did. Yeah.
And then because I think he come back and he was with Tajiri, and which is one of the most underrated teams of all time. They were with the Sinister Minister and Mikey Whipwreck and Tajiri. It was one of probably the funniest damn tag teams of all time.
I loved Whipwreck and Tajiri. Fucking loved. And Tajiri is one of my favorite ECW wrestlers of all time. I fucking love that dude. But yeah, those are the only facts I have. There really wasn't a lot to find out, so that category was kind of limited. Couple of awards here before we wrap things up. Jason suggested this award. What was the most extreme moment of ECW's Heatwave 98? Chad, I'll begin with you.
My extreme one was when Tanaka put Austin through the table over the top rope, running powerbomb over the top rope.
Yeah.
You couldn't go wrong with that one. That was awesome.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. Jason, what's your nominee?
That's mine as well. And I just want to add something to that, is when he threw him over the top rope and through that table, it was a concrete floor. There were no pads.
No, that's right on that.
And I mean, he hit head first. And oh God, like I kept thinking, like, there's no way he didn't break his neck. I mean, 320 pounds coming down on your head on a concrete floor.
Mm-hmm.
And just think about it. He look at all the chair shots he took after he got powerbombed onto that table. He took 2 more chair shots, so you know the man had to have a huge concussion afterwards.
They didn't give a fuck about concussions in 1998 professional wrestling.
Mike Awesome, he was on his way to being the fat chick thriller.
Oh, talk about guys that were underutilized, man.
Yeah.
That guy should have been a fucking huge star in WCW, and they just fucking shit the bed with him, too.
Well, look, he had running it.
Well, I think that was Russo was running the show by the time Mike Awesome joined WCW.
Yeah, like I said, look who's running the show.
Yeah. Don't get me started on Vince Russo. Save that for another episode. My nominee, I mean, yeah, a couple spots from the Masato Tanaka Mike Awesome match. Just for the sake of originality, the Dudley Boys promo from the beginning of the show. Or the beginning of the main event. Like I said, as a prelude to things to come. That tag team was probably top 3 in terms of being able to generate heat. Like, to get a crowd to hate them simply for them just walking down to the ring. The Dudley Boys were it. I'd put them on par with, like, 80s Piper.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't even come out to any music. They just walked down to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And the crowd was, like, hostile. I mean, and, you know, what do you have to do to piss a crowd off so bad that just the sight of you walking to the ring pisses them off?
Well, I think challenging anybody in the crowd to a fight would probably...
Yeah.
I thought that dude was seriously going to fucking, like, they're going to have to kick him out. Well, then, like, he went on like you said, he went on he fine-tuned it a year later, but yeah, like in 99, they were going to fucking, that fat dude was going to come out and...
Oh my God. I really thought there was going to be a riot. And because I was at 99 and he comes out there and just starts berating the crowd. And then there's some fat guy in the front row. And he's like, "Come on, fat boy." And like the guy, you could see he wanted to come. And he's like, "You won't come to us, we'll come to you." And I was like, "Oh shit, it's about to go down." Yeah. And the guy sitting in front of me had his 2 young kids. And he looks around, he's like, he just looks at me, he says, "Is this normal for this show?" Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, this isn't WWE, sir.
Yeah.
I'll give it to the powerbomb spot in the Tanaka Awesome match, just because, like, that, first off, like, seeing, like, it should have been the other way around.
Yeah.
But to see Tanaka do it, and then that powerbomb looked pretty ugly, too. I would give it to that one. Yeah, so the most extreme moment of the night's the Mike Awesome getting powerbombed by Masato Tanaka onto a table, over the top rope. But there's some, I even like the spot where Tanaka goes to the end of the ramp with the chair and gets a full head of steam and just fucking clocks Mike Awesome with the chair. I love that spot too. I popped a little bit for it when I was watching that match last night. Which I find now, I can really tell I'm starting to become like I'm almost to the back nine of life, because it took me 3 days to watch ECW Heatwave 98. 3 days. I started on Mondays. Like I can get through most of this, and then I woke up, and fun fact, I woke up the first night and it was playing Heatwave 99. So I slept through quite a bit of it. Then I played it again, and then I was like, fuck it, I gotta shut this off before I fall asleep. Yeah, I finally finished it last night. It was like a marathon, man. It's like if I don't watch it live, it's a fucking chore. The match of the night, I think it's pretty unanimous just from the star ratings that we give each of the matches. I think we're going with Tanaka and Mike Awesome's the match of the night.
Yeah, definitely.
Chad, you agree with that one?
True.
Match of the night?
True. Yeah, it was.
All right. I don't have any more awards, but I do always end the show with a question to wrap a pretty bow on this episode. Do you guys think that this is the greatest ECW pay-per-view of all time? I know when it first, shortly after the show had aired, most people were saying that it was, and even up until ECW ended their initial run, they shut the doors before they did the one-night stand. People considered this the greatest of all time. And now it seems like in later years, a lot of people, per usual, like to shit on it for one reason or another. I think it's simply because it got so much praise back when it first aired. But if you discount the WWE ECW, just ECW from 90, was that 94? Yeah, 94 till, when did it end? 2000?
2001.
2001, okay.
Yeah, January 2001.
Is this the greatest ECW pay-per-view of all time to you gentlemen?
Yes.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I would go that way. I mean, and I'll say this: the Heatwave pay-per-views. I mean, I know November to Remember was their big show every year, but Heatwave 98, 99, and 2000, all three of those shows had, I mean, they just seemed like they were on kind of another level. And I would suggest watching those to kind of get a feel of what ECW was really like. This pay-per-view top to bottom was the best of the three. But I mean, even if you go to 99, you get to see the vulgarity of the Dudley Boys, and you get a really good Taz versus Tajiri match. And then you get into almost the end of ECW with 2000, and they have the incident with XPW. And I mean, it's just those, the heat waves, I just think kind of stood above the other shows. And that's probably where, I mean, you're getting a little bit of everything by watching them, and you get a good idea of what ECW was all about.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think it's just pretty much top to bottom. There's not a bad match on this card, which ECW is always notorious for. Like, you would get one or two absolute classics.
Yeah.
But then you'd also get some fucking turds.
Yeah.
In their pay-per-views, and it always seemed to be uneven. But this one seemed to be put, like, even the match order was pretty good. which that seemed to be sometimes ECW struggled with. They'd have like too many good matches in a row, and then you'd have to suffer through like a lot of the bad stuff right in a row, and it kind of bogged the show down. But yeah, I think even the way the match card was constructed, you had a banger of an opener, you got a little bit of the hardcore stuff, you got the high spots, you got a little bit of the mat wrestling with Candido and Storm, and you got to end the show the anarchy of the Dudleyville Street Fight. Yeah, I would say that this is the best one. The only one I could think of that would be close to this would be, what was that? I'm trying to think of the one that had Jerry Lynn and RVD, and then I think it had the Taz and Sabu rematch. Is that Living Dangerously?
Like, is it 99?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 99.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, that is Living Dangerously 99. Just on the strength of those two matches alone. And then, not counting if you throw the WWE ones in, I think obviously the first One Night Stand would be.
Oh yeah,
that's probably one of the top 5 or 6 best pay-per-views of all time. Period.
Yeah, that was classic.
But great show to revisit. Like I said, you can watch ECW Heatwave 98 on Peacock. It's about 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes, something like that. So a little bit shorter than you're accustomed to. Before we go, you gentlemen have anything you want to add?
I am good, my friend. It was an enjoyable show.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Chad. Hopefully next time we get a little bit more out of you. Just remember, this is just a conversation amongst friends and a worldwide audience. So,
I know.
So yeah, next time, feel free, just let it rip. We want to get old Frisky Chad. That's America's Chad. It's Frisky Chad. But it was fun having you guys on. I thought you guys would be pretty good judges of this pay-per-view, since we were all big ECW fans, and since Chad and I got to see it live, first time I'd got to see ECW live, and that was quite an experience to say the least. So, fun show. Definitely check it out if you're a wrestling fan, and I'd always say it's a good way to start your deep dive into ECW. As a matter of fact, Will, who's on the show a lot when we do wrestling episodes, he's never watched ECW. And that was the first thing I recommended to him to watch was Heatwave 98.
Yeah, you need to watch ECW. You never knew what you were going to see. Well, and I mean, there was just a lot of guys that you didn't realize come up through ECW. And they have a lot of really classic matches and storylines.
And I have always said that I think ECW saved the WWE because they essentially took the formula of ECW and fine-tuned it and presented it to a mass audience. And I think when they did that, I don't want to hear this was Vince McMahon stole the concept of ECW and turned it into the Attitude Era. I've always felt that way, and I think ECW, their blueprint, saved the WWE.
And I think that's why Vince took care of Paul and the end of ECW.
Yeah. To this day.
I mean, if they would have kept with the same formula they were going, I didn't see them going much longer. But all had the right idea. It's just Vince had the money to execute it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, fun show. We'll have to do this again. Hopefully I can come up with a formula to kind of break the show down a little bit better. But it was fun, guys. Before we go, be sure to follow us on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We're on Twitter or X. or whatever the fuck Elon Musk is calling it this week. You can shoot us an email at the couchbrotatopodcast@gmail.com. Shoot us your thoughts, your show ideas. Let me know how I'm doing. Let us know how much the show sucks. Whatever is on your mind, send it our way. I'll be sure to answer those questions. If you dig what we're doing here at the show, please give us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. We do appreciate that, and it helps get our show a little bit more recognition in those search results. So, until next week, we will talk to you guys later.